Hey guys, this video today is going to be a part 2 to a tutorial I did almost a year ago now, I think, might have even been longer. A random level generator blueprint. So I'll put a link to that video in the description, but basically what it does is it has a little actor just like that where my mouse is, and when you hit play it can generate these massive random worlds out of tiles that you've specified, tiles that you've built by yourself. And you can see this cone thing here. That's a special type of tile that spawns with every instance of this grid. That'll always spawn in a random position every time. And there's also another tile over there which also spawns in a random position, or maybe it's always in the corner, I'm not sure. But it's always in the corner. So basically what you've got here is you've got a grid that can generate it can put down like a start tile in a random spot or at a specific spot, or any type of tile at a random spot or a specific spot, and then fill in the rest from a bunch of different other tiles that you've created. So it's just a big fancy random level generator thing. But what we're going to be doing today, I got a request from old mate Joe Ward from YouTube. He wanted to have the whole thing work, but have it load and unload the levels depending on the proximity of the player. So I'm assuming if you've got like a massive world, if you have all the tiles loaded in, it's going to make the game lag like fuck. So he wanted to see if we could get it to load and unload them depending on where the player was, so they'd load as you moved through the world. So here's what we're going to try and do today, and I've never done this, by the way, so it might be a little bit clunky, but hopefully by watching me go through it and having a look at my thought process and how I go about attacking these things, it might be a little bit revealing and informative to you to just see how I approach problems. I don't know, like, it may or it may not be. It might just be just fucking annoying because I won't know what I'm doing, but personally I like watching people figure things out so I can learn how they think as well as the actual technicalities of what they're doing. So anyway, what we're going to try and do is we're going to generate a random grid of levels, which we've already done with the randomizer video. Can I strike out things up here somewhere? I don't know. Oh, is that a strikeout? No, that's clear formatting. I don't know. Anyway, so we've done that in the previous tutorial. Next thing that we want to do is make only the levels within the distance of X of the player visible, and we want to load and unload levels of the player as the player moves. So that's what we're going to be trying to do today. Here's just a little list of things that I've written out to help me keep on track with what we're going to be doing. So we're going to use the begin play event. We're going to generate the random grid of levels, which is already done. We're going to hide all the levels using the should be visible node, and then using a slow tick, so maybe like every second or something, we'll get the player location, get the distance between the player and every single level, and then we'll get a value from this that'll be a float, and then we'll check if that float is greater than or less than a specific value that we've set. And if it is greater, if it's too far away, so the float value will be greater, it'll hide the level. If it's less, it'll show the level. And then we set the player to the start point, and the player can play through the game. Okay, so let's crack open this random level generator thing. This could be a complete nightmare yet. I've got no idea what's going to happen. I'm feeling a little bit rusty in the engine. It's been a while. Like, I've been taking a little bit of a break. I've been working on games too obsessively, so I've got to take time to chill every now and again. So I think how this works, pick and spawn level from array. So the first thing that we want to do is go into that. When we create the instance of the levels, should block on load. I think that pauses the game while the level's loading in. Should be loaded, loads the actual level, should be visible. Maybe what we can do is we can tick that to false by default. So now what we might get is if I hit play, nothing should actually appear. So it's still blocked because it was loading the levels, but now nothing's actually here, which is good. That's what we want. Maybe what I could do we have a reference to all these levels? No, we don't. So maybe let's get this. So we'll drag off of the return value of the instance, and what we'll do is we'll say add array, and we want to add each instance of that level to a new array, which we're going to promote to a variable off there and call this level instances. And then make sure you connect that pin back up to the transform. and the level transform is what we'll use later to check the distances to where the player is. Am I actually recording yet? 5 minutes already. Fuck, I haven't even done anything yet. Hardly. So all the levels are invisible and we've got a reference to each level. So let's just make sure that that hasn't fucked anything up. And after this for loop here, I'm just going to type in RER to add a reroute node. Let's just grab these level instances and just say for each loop. Actually, before we do that, let's have a delay. And I'm just going to put a delay of like, I don't know, maybe like 5 seconds or something. Can my numlock please work? There we go. 5 seconds, and then off of these we're going to say should be visible. Oops. Set should be visible. So this is just me making sure that these levels are hidden and in the right spots. So I'm going to set that to true. And then I'm going to put a print string and just get that to say hello. Just as like a sanity check. So I hit play, we wait, it's waiting for 5 seconds, and then we should get a hello up here any moment, and boom, everything's in there, and everything is in the right spot. Okay, that's good to know. By the way, I might do a tutorial after this about using a seed or a stream or whatever the hell they're called, so that when you generate a random world, if you like that world, maybe you can press a button to save that particular generation. But we won't do that in this one, that can be a future video. Okay, so we know that everything's in the right spot, so now what we need to do is let's have a custom event down here, and let's call this check, or maybe let's call this update level visibilities. And off of this we're going to have a set timer by event, and I'm going to drag this down here, and I'm just going to plug this event thing up into that, and then I'm going to promote the time here to a variable which I'm going to call level update tick time. And you know what I might do is I might just add our level instances to a new category which I'm going to be called I might call it level streaming, because that's essentially what this is we're streaming levels in and out, I think. I don't know, I don't really know the names of things. So we want that to be looping. We're going to have a tick time. We don't want it to be too quick because I'll explain that in a sec. Maybe I'll just have it for 1 second now. We don't want it to be too quick because every single time this event fires, what we're going to be doing off this event is getting a reference to all these levels, going through all these levels, and then checking the distance to each. And if there is a lot of levels, that could be quite an intensive process, so 1 second should be fine. And then off of this return value, let's just promote this to a variable and call this level streaming timer ref, just in case we wanted to stop or start this timer later on, which we probably won't need to, but whatever. And I'm just going to put that in the level streaming category too. And this level tick time thing, that can be a public variable. Okay, I need a drink of water, but I'm not going to pause this. Let's just finish it. So update level visibilities. What we're going to do is every time we call this event, we're going to go through each of our level instances, and we're going to get the transform. Now I'm just curious. Let me check how we design these levels. So if I load in T right now, the transform of this level, I believe, is just going to be the center of the tile. Yeah, so that's fine. That probably didn't make... I'm just like kind of talking to myself at this point. Don't just disregard that. I just needed to check something for my own sanity because I forgot how this thing worked. So what we're going to do is we're going to get all of our level instances. We're going to get the location of that tile, and we're going to say minus vector, and we're going to minus the location of the player character. So we'll say get player character, or you could say get player pawn if you're just using a pawn that isn't a character, but it doesn't really matter at this point. So we'll just say get player character because we're just using the old mannequin dude, and we're going to say get location, and then we're going to plug that into there, and then we're going to turn this to a length, vector length, and then we're going to check if this is greater than or equal to some value, which we're going to call level visibility toggle threshold. Sounds fancy. So let's dump that in level streaming. Now, the value for this is going to be the distance to which levels start to be hidden. So let's say that it is, I don't know, 5,000. Or maybe I should probably look at the tile size. It'd be dependent on your tile size, really. To find out the size of things in the map, you can go Alt-J, I think is top view. Alt-J for top view. And then if you hold your middle mouse, let me just turn the snapping on actually. So I'll turn the snapping on, then if you hold middle mouse, you can actually just drag across and measure distances like that, and I can't see that because that stupid fucking billboard. 2,000 across. Okay, that's good to know. So you obviously want your threshold to be larger than your tile size. Well, at least half your tile size. If it was half of your tile size, well, okay. So you just want it to be larger. Let's just play around with 5,000. It depends on how much you want the player to be able to see into the distance. So if the distance is greater than the threshold, off of this we can have a select node. And then what we're going to do is we're going to grab this array element, the level instance, and we're going to say set should be visible. And that's going to go into... Oh, maybe we don't even need this select. What if we just go like this? Maybe we do need it. I haven't quite thought this through yet. So, if the distance is greater than the threshold, then it should not be visible. So we want not. If the distance is less than the threshold, then this will be false. And then this will make it true, which means it should be visible. That was a bit of a head fuck. My brain is not ready for this at the moment. But hey, that's fine. I mean, I think that should work. Did we ever set the player's start location to... I don't think we did. I think in the last video I was going to set up a thing to get the player to spawn at the actual start. Let's see. Okay, so there's a player start there on the start tile, and if I hit... Let me just disconnect this, and let's just see what happens. Oh, but all the levels are going to be hidden. So for now... Oh, what the fuck is this? Specific levels, sorry. So pick and spawn level from array. I'm just going to put should be visible back on for a sec. And I've just disconnected our streaming thing, so this should function just as normal now. Let me just do a simulation real quick. I think I've got too many levels. Let me just reduce the number of levels. So to do that, you click on your billboard. The number here, let's just make that 5 and 5. Okay, so we hit simulate. Our levels spawn in, and we've lost our start tile because our start tile was on 1515. So let me just go to the specific level info. Expand all. We have a finish tile and we have a start tile at 1515. So the start tile can just be at 0 and 0 for now. Or should it be 1 and 1? I'm not actually sure. I can't remember if it was 0 based or not. Well, it didn't spawn, so it's going to be 1 and 1. Can you select, please? Yep, that's good. So 1 and 1 for the coordinates for the start tile. So if we hit play, okay, we've got our start tile there. That's our start tile. And is our other dude still randomly going? Yep, our finish tiles randomly being placed each time. So now if I hit play, I just spawn out here, which is not what we want. What I want the player to do is I want them to spawn into the start tile. So what we could do here is we could say get player character. So this is after the loop's run, by the way. After the loop is run, we say set actor location. And you know what? I might just make this a function. set player location to player start, just to keep it neat. So we're setting a location, but what we need to do is we need to get the player start. Is there a thing for that? No. What we're going to have to do is we're going to have to say get all actors of class player start. So we're getting all the player starts. We only want, so we're going to get a copy because that returns an array. We only want the index of 0 because there's only going to be one player start, hopefully, if you designed your level properly. And then what we're going to do is we're going to get actor location, and then we're going to set that as the player location. Now that should set us at the start. Now there is only one problem, is that this may return no player starts if all of these levels haven't actually spawned, if they're not visible yet. So these actually take a little bit of time to be visible, but let's just give this a try. What if I just hit play? No, see, I've still spawned out there, and I'm gonna guess that that's because this here, if I say is valid and just put that in there, and if it is valid, say hello. If it's not valid, say goodbye. Sure, why not? And let's just see what happens. Oh, it says hello, so it is valid, but it's not setting our position there. Interesting. Fuck, I hate when shit like this happens, because then I have to debug, like, on the fly. I suppose that's the point of this video, anyway. So, we're getting our player character. I wonder why it wasn't being set to the start point. What if I just chuck in a delay for a laugh and just see what happens? I'll just put a delay of 2 seconds, so after it finishes the loop, we should get our location set to the start. Yeah, okay. So for some reason it wasn't doing it. But anyway, there's a better way to do this than with a delay. You don't want to do a delay because you don't know how long these are going to take to load in. So what we could do is, now that we've got our level instances, well actually no, maybe we shouldn't do that. Maybe what we should do is we should just use this after we've set all this up. What I was going to do is I was going to check if all the levels were visible and then set our player to the start. But since we're going to be streaming the levels in and out, let's kick this off first thing. Maybe we should always have the start tile visible. I'm not sure. What would be the best way to do this? Give me a sec, I'm going to take a little break and get some water and I'll be back. Okay, so I've got an idea. We were going to start with all the levels not visible, but let's just start with them visible for now, save their instances and set them to their positions. And then let me just move all of this for a sec, and I'll just disconnect that. What we're going to do before we start checking and streaming and all of those things is let's get the player start. So all the levels will be loaded in, so let's find the player start, which we could probably use here. So this set player start location thing, this function, let me just yeah, I think this will actually work just as it is. Yeah, so let's just have a print string off that, and let's just say, in the case that the player start doesn't exist for whatever reason, let's just say player start was invalid, just so we know if something fucks up. So before we set the location to the player start, is we're just going to have a little check in here that all the levels are actually visible. So let's grab our level instances and say for each loop, this should actually be a function. So let's probably make this a function, and let's say check all levels are visible. So inside of this function we're going to have a local variable which is going to be called all visible, which is similar. It's similar to all loaded, I guess, but we need them to be visible so we've got access to the get player start thing. So let's just check is visible. Get should be get should be visible. Yeah, get should be visible. No, is level visible. Sorry, not should be visible. We want to check if it is visible. Now, all visible is going to be set to true as default, and if there's a single level here, if there's a single level in all of these that is not visible, so if is level visible returns false, we're going to set all visible here to false, and then off of here we'll have our return node. And our return node is going to return the all visible variable like that. So now what we get is we get this check all levels are visible thing. We're going to have a branch off here. If they're all visible, we're going to go ahead and set the player start, the player location to the player start. If they're not all visible, we're just going to have a delay down here of 0.2 seconds, which is going to go back into there and continue to check until they're all loaded in and we can get set to the start. So now, if I hit play, oh, beautiful. Well, that seemed to work. Yeah, we're right at the start. Cool. So what if I did like a really big one? Let's check like 20 and 20. What happens then? So it looks like it's blocked on load, which is really good. And I mean, that looks pretty big. Is that 20 by 20? Probably. Looks really cool from down there. Okay, so this is working. This is checking if all the levels are loaded, and then when all the levels are loaded, it's setting the location to the player start. And then once the player is at the player start, then we can start to do this, I think. So again, what this is going to do is it's going to set a timer, and then every time this ticks, which is every 1 second, it's going to check your distance to every single level, and then it's going to set should be visible and toggle the visibility of all the ones that are greater than whatever distance you've set here. Let's see how that goes. Oh, okay. So it unloaded them. Now if I start to run through, oh, sick. Look at that. There you go, you can see them spawning in as we go. And that's a good distance as well. Well, not really, I guess it depends on your game, because if you wanted a big, like, sweeping landscape. Oh, were they unloading? Yes, they're unloading as well. Oh, shit, yeah. Damn, alright. I guess that's it. That's probably done. Let me just see, what if I change this to, like, 100... Oh, no, not 100,000. That probably wouldn't... Well, I don't know, maybe it would work. I'm going to try 100 and 100, and just so I can... what's our character name? Third person character. I'm just going to change his movement so I can sprint through. Character movement... what is it? It's walk speed is the one that we want. Walk speed. Let's just change that to like 2,000. So we can just fly through this fucking level. Okay, so hit play. It might take a while to load now because we've got 100 and they've all got to load in first before it starts to do the streaming. So I guess you could put a loading screen at the start of your game somehow. If you turned the block on load to false and then had a widget on the screen until all the levels were visible, that's how you'd do that. So you could have a big loading screen up on here until the game actually starts. God, 100 might have been a bit too much. Hopefully I don't crash the fucking engine. I think we're doing alright for time. I don't know how long I was going for before, maybe like 20 minutes, so half an hour. Oh, I think I've made a horrible mistake. I'm going to have a sip of water while we wait for this to load. Hang on. You can fast forward, by the way. Feel free to tap that right key on the keyboard. Holy shit, did you see that? 40,000 unbuilt objects. Oh, and now it's just 31. And it is a little bit laggy, it seems, but maybe it's not too bad. No, it is still a bit laggy, I think. Oh, and I guess that's because it's doing those checks every second. So you see the frame rate, how it's flashing red every second. Oops, sorry. Can I just get rid of that window at the bottom? By the way, to get that window up, you just type that little squiggly key next to 1 on the keyboard below escape, and then you type in stat FPS and you can get your frame rate. So every second it's got to perform that check to every single fucking tile, and there's like 1,000 tiles right now, so it's going to be quite laggy. But as you can see, this will just go forever. My air control isn't so good. But yeah, they're unloading as you move away, and they're loading in as you go. So I mean, you could obviously, there's room for improvement here. But I mean, this works. Like, that works quite well. You just probably want to be careful of using too many tiles because it has to check so many. So how could you improve that? I mean, you'd have to invent some sort of overlap system so that instead of this going through every single instance and checking the distance to every single instance, maybe you could back in this bit here where you spawn in the level. Perhaps you could spawn an actor in the center of the level with the same transform as the level, and then inside that actor you could have like an overlap volume. Like, the actor could just be an overlap volume, like a trigger volume, and whenever the player overlaps the trigger volume, which could be perhaps maybe 5 times the size of the level, then it starts spawning them in or something. I don't know. That probably didn't make any sense. It doesn't even make sense to me, really. I'm just kind of rambling at this point. But there you go, that's it. This tutorial, let me just check that we've done everything actually. Yeah. So the next video I want to do like a seed stream thing so that you can save your random generations and they're not lost forever if you get a really cool one. This video was a request by Joe Ward. If you guys have any requests, drop them in the comments below. Like, try to be as concise and specific as possible, but also informative, and like really explain what you want me to try and do. And if I feel like it matches my capabilities, I might get around to doing it. I'm kind of out of ideas for tutorials at the moment, so that'd be much appreciated, and it'd be cool to help some people specifically, you know, rather than just pumping out random videos into the ether. So if you've got any requests, drop me a comment. I hope this helps, and I guess I'll see you guys soon with another tutorial. Peace out.